Hi, I'm George Brundle. I'm being joined live via satellite by Larry Davis
Hi.
and sometimes by Danny. Exactly. And
Not this
this
time.
is, this is not one of them.
This is not one of those
This
times.
is the Golden Gizmos 2017. We got 3 more hot bangers to get through. Hopefully, it won't take as long as Best New Character, which was daunting.
It was a nightmare.
We are going to start with maybe the most difficult one for us to do. Just get that out of the way first, which is Best New Soundtrack.
Well, just best soundtrack.
Sure, yeah. Best soundtrack in a game that came out in 2017 is the description for this category.
Sure.
Or
okay.
late, yeah. Play the music out on this.
Do you want to paste the list this time?
You do it. You have easier access to it.
Okay,
we have also set up a music channel, so I'm going to record the music. When we begin talking about it, we'll select a few tracks for each game to kind of get the point across to everybody else.
Okay. I was not aware of this. I don't know what we're doing.
So you will post the list, and then if we need to link any of the music to kind of like if Danny hasn't heard anything, let's say from The Mummy, then we can post it in the music channel and he can hear it. I'll just switch over so it's not like pushing the list off a bunch.
I see. Okay. All right, so here's my nominees. There might be something missing. Don't know.
Nier Automata, Persona 5, Tekken 7, whatever. You got your fucking robot as number 1 in the last list. I don't care.
It's gonna be number 1 this one too.
The Mummy Demastered, Cuphead, and Sonic Mania. All these have really good soundtracks, and it pains me to try to boil it down to 5.
I'm gonna say there's 6 of them here. Tekken 7 should not be in the final list. I like it. I really like the customization music. I like the one for the rooftop stage where it's just like whoop, 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 whoop all the time. But it's not as good as the rest of them.
I'm glad you brought it up first, because in the time that I've spent with that game, it's been that character music that you brought up, like the character selection, customization thing, and then like I could not remember any other track from that. Like none of them really stood out to me.
Me too, but that's because of the brain tumor.
Oh no, you're supposed to get that looked at.
Well, I mean, I don't think so. Okay.
It was. But yeah, like you said, there's a few good tracks in that, but I think like compared to like all the other games on this list, where like they are infectiously catchy the majority of the time, I don't think Tekken 7 quite meets that same standard.
Yeah. But it gets an honorable mention.
Typing now instead of talking.
No, I just wanted to see the smileys because I.
Oh, okay. We have a fine selection.
We have some very good smileys.
Yep, you found one of them.
This is my particular favorite, but I'm agreeing, because Tekken 7, I like listening to it, but it's not like amazing.
Gonna make it 2 hours in before this became let's just post a bunch of emotes. Yeah, I'm glad we're all in agreement on that one. Well, a damn fine top 5. I don't know about that order though.
No.
I think Persona 5 is number 1.
No.
I think it's number 1.
Nope.
I think
pull
it's
up in
number
the music
2.
Pull up in the music when you are setting up a heist. Pull up in the music where you are running in there on like the final day and you're going to go steal that heart. The battle music, the boss battle music.
It's a damn fine soundtrack, not as good as Nier's.
I disagree.
Right.
So the thing with Nier's is I actually do think that there are some tracks on there that just come across like fairly generic JRPG music. There are some tracks that are really good, but I think Persona 5's across the board was actually really, like, I've been pulling that open and listening to it regularly. I don't think there's a lot of tracks I dislike in that game outside of the bank dungeon, which was like a bunch of discordant bleeps and bloops.
Oh, that one was really bad.
Yeah, that's a fucking garbage song. Like, I really like the overworld theme. like when you're just wandering around Tokyo, and especially when it is like a rainy day and it's the more kind of like downtrodden version of that. Like if you want to pull that song up because I gotta capture the screen, I'm not pulling my internet window up. Nobody needs to see all the porn of Asian women crying that I have on my computer. I need to cut that part out.
Edit point?
Edit point? Okay.
Okay.
I would pull up in that song like the other two Persona games. I grew really tired of the overworld theme and found it grating after a while, but I've been able to listen to that one pretty much nonstop. In an 80-hour game, I never grew sick of that song or any song in that game for that matter.
Then I would also say in the 60 hours or whatever of Nier Automata, I never got tired of its music. And I would also say that while Persona 5's music is very good, like I would say it's number 2 easily, Nier's music contributes a lot to the overall feeling of the world and the story.
I think that's absolutely true of
I mean.
Persona 5 as well.
Not really. Like, I feel like you could remove the music from Persona 5 and not much would really be lost. Because so much of that is visual style. While
I think that
Nier,
music,
I think the music's a lot more important.
I think that music adds a lot of quality to the experience of just like getting you pumped up and getting the right pacing going for you and the right feeling. Like the visual style is absolutely important in that game. But that music complements it so much that if you remove one from the other, I think the other suffers as a result from it.
Okay. I don't know.
It's got crime music. Crime music.
But also something I bring up is it's a lot harder to make a memorable score that's not jazzy. Like, most games have music all over them and you never notice it, or you can't recall any of it. Whereas Nier's extremely memorable and actually adds a lot to the experience. It's...
I'm gonna agree with Larry, because like when you have music that's like catchy, because like we can all remember Cupheads, and I have listened to Persona's music, it's very catchy. It's hard nowadays to have a soundtrack that's like Nier's and be like super like, okay, I like this one, I like this one, I like this one.
It's harder for something to be atmospheric in a memorable fashion. And I actually think that's what excels in The Mummy too, where a lot of that is not hot jams.
So I think the divide here comes from the fact that I've not played Nier, so I cannot actually say what the Did I just cut out there?
You did.
Yeah.
Okay, my bad. I have not played Nier, so I don't know how the music actually intertwines itself with the gameplay. Likewise, Danny has not played Persona 5. I don't think Danny quite knows just how much that music amps you up during the gameplay. The music in Persona 5 absolutely does play a vital component in the feel of that game.
Yeah.
Oh, the music's fantastic, and I can listen to music and I can tell what it's supposed to accomplish.
Pull open pictures of Hollow Knight.
No, but I think he's kind of right. Like, you can listen to the soundtrack of Persona 5 and get what it's about without necessarily having played it. But I don't really think you can do that for Nier.
I don't know, there's just a lot of tracks on Nier that don't particularly stand out to me. And like any impactful, like again, there's some tracks in that just sound like generic JRPG music to me.
Like what? Give me one.
I cannot even remember the names of them. I listened to like I listened to the entire soundtrack a few times in like one giant playlist. The You Cannot Continue one is the one that is maybe the most standout one for me and the one that I've like been able to get into the most. Yeah.
Weird.
But again, I've not played.
It would be Become as Gods.
I have not played Nier, so I don't know how that music sounds in the actual game, and that is the biggest disconnect. Is it sounds like what you're telling me is that music is more about the atmosphere that it sets, and less of just like I would sit down and listen to this, which sounds like Cuphead to me. Like I wouldn't sit down and listen to Cuphead because that's just not my kind of music.
I actually do listen to it a lot.
Cuphead?
No, Nier.
Oh.
While like building Gunpla and stuff.
Like I think because like here's the thing, Larry. Like you and me have played Nier, we can easily get back to the moments we looked at. And what George is saying, like like George, I think he can make a point out of that, but like it's also like but like I say that like Nier's music is just super dependent on whether you play the game.
I mean,
Yeah,
I
I
think
think so too.
to really appreciate Persona 5's music, though, you do kind of have to see how it.
No, I appreciate Persona 5's music a lot, but like
I know, I understand, but I'm saying to like really get a sense for it. Like a lot of Persona is about the sort of pomp and bombast that goes on in those games, and the music is a very vital component in getting you that, like, communicating that sensation to you.
Yeah, it is, but I think you don't get quite what he's saying, which is that you can appreciate the music of Persona 5 divorced from the game, while you kinda can't with Nier.
And so I'm basically looking at that in the opposite way of just like, if I can enjoy the music outside of the game as well, I think that makes it a stronger soundtrack to me, at least. Like, that to actually sit down and just want to listen to it divorced of the game. Whereas with Nier, I don't quite get that sensation. That definitely
but as
sounds
I
like something
said,
that
like,
just works as a component.
but like I said, I also can just sit and listen to it on its own. It's just that
Okay, I understand it's I understand it's 2-1. I'm just going to argue in circles with you guys. If you want to make a number one, make a number one.
I feel like this is number 1 Nier, 2 Persona 5, 3 Sonic.
Okay.
Because as much as I don't really care about Sonic Mania, the music is very good.
The music in Mania is, I kind of brought this up to you, that the thing about Sonic games is the only thing that is as consistent as those games being shitty is the fact that they have good soundtracks generally. Like, there's definitely games where that's an exception. One of those games might have come out this year called Sonic Forces, and it has really shitty music. I think Sonic Mania actually has the best soundtrack out of a Sonic game.
I just realized we didn't include Mario Odyssey.
I think Mario Odyssey is sort of the same thing with Tekken for me, that there's like a few tracks that I'm really into in that game, and then there's a lot of them that just don't even really register for me.
Yeah, I guess so. That the main theme though.
Oh, it's really
extremely good.
Yeah.
it's super good.
And like, if you want to get back into like how does that impact the actual gameplay, like that whole bit with the festival is, if we had a best moments category, I definitely think that would be making like the top 5.
Yeah.
And the music obviously is a huge component.
Yep. Pauline and her band.
But kind of the same thing with Persona 5 is what I see in Sonic Mania, in that it definitely gets you into the right headspace for that gameplay, but I think it stands very strong even divorced of it. Mania could easily have flopped because so many of those songs are just remixes of songs from past games, but those songs are A, still good, and B, I think T-Lopes was able to do something with those that didn't just make them sound like a generic remix that you would just stumble across on YouTube. Even though for a while, that is literally the shit that he did.
Okay.
He also, like, it's very clear he has access to the old sound library that they use to pull all their samples from, because, as I understand it, none of those songs are just, like, they're all made from the ground up. Yet they don't.
Artisanal soundtracks.
Basically.
We source our Sonic tracks from only organic tape libraries.
I was watching some stream with him where he was just like, the hardest thing to do with that soundtrack was finding the right snares for Chemical Plant, because he for some reason did not have access to that and had to find like some sort of assembly, and spent like hours upon hours just looking for like the thing that sounded just enough like it.
Well, as the Beastie Boys said, nothing sounds quite like an 808.
Thank you. That's true.
Welcome. 808s and heartbreaks.
I think it keeps to that Genesis style just as much as it needs to, but it also does. It definitely doesn't sound like anything that you would hear pumping out of a Genesis. It sounds closer.
Yeah, it sounds way better.
Well, yeah. But it's maybe more closer in style, I think, to like a Sonic CD, but the music is a lot more layered. There's more going on with all those songs. Studiopolis is really good.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, Mania's got a really good soundtrack.
Yeah.
It does.
It does.
What? What were you about to say?
No, I'm just agreeing. Yeah, like it does have a good soundtrack.
Okay. Sound like you were not.
Yeah, it sounds like you weren't completely sold there, but
No, I'm like it's a good soundtrack. Yeah. I'm just agreeing.
I know Danny feels very passionately about the Cuphead soundtrack.
I like the
Really?
jazziness. I was part of a big band.
He says that all the
What?
time.
Back in my youth of '92.
There's been a few times where I've gone to Danny's house and he's out there in a rocking chair sipping on some lemonade and going, I was part of a big band in my youth, but now I'm feeble. I can't even pick up a saxophone.
Was this a part of like the 7th Swing revival or something?
Yeah.
Like, sure was.
We've been listening to a lot of Real Big Fish and the Stray Cats. I guess so. Great.
Yeah. Well.
I said it sure was.
Okay. I didn't hear it.
I think that the Cuphead soundtrack is really, really good, and it absolutely fits the style of that game.
Uh-huh.
And again, if you want to talk about songs that worked very well as a component of the game that it's in, absolutely. It's not my kind of music, though, and I don't think I'd ever... Like, outside of the game, I'm just kind of like, oh, okay, like, it's really good, old-timey music, but...
Also, some of it is just, like, traditional ragtime tracks.
Yes. I do like that one that insults your level of play, though.
Yeah.
That is a...
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I like the Mummy. Like, I'm fine with Cuphead being 5 and Mummy being
4. Okay.
Mummy's music.
Mummy sounds like John Carpenter did the score to a Super Nintendo game, and I love it.
Oh my god, it totally does.
It is fantastic.
It's just like boom.
You had linked me that one that was just like, here's basically a Castlevania track, and I was like, I am extremely into this game now, I need to buy it.
Yep. It's just like, this sounds like it could be straight out of The Thing.
Yeah.
It's a very good soundtrack. I love playing that game just for the soundtrack. It's a good game too. I have it on my Switch.
Alright, fuck it.
Me too.
4 is The Mummy Demastered and 5 is Cuphead. That's...
Alright.
Like, this looks like a fine best soundtrack list. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I still have some bones to pick with Nier ending up number 1 again, but whatever.
Well, look.
I think
this is a meritocracy.
I think you're both insane, and the Persona 5 soundtrack is way better, but okay.
You haven't even played Nier.
Yeah. I'm not going to now because I feel slighted by the both of you.
I'll let you borrow mine.
I am genuinely curious, Danny, how far did you make it into Nier?
I beat it. Like,
okay.
I got like the regular endings, and I'm just kind of like picking up all the other endings.
I just wanted to make sure because there was a while in our discussions where it sounded like you had beat Sonic Mania, and come to find out you didn't beat even the 2nd level. So I just wanted to check in and be sure.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you beat...
Wow. Sure.
You didn't even play Puyo Puyo Tetris, but you want to murder it.
I just don't like Puyo in general.
I understand. I'm the one that poisoned you by playing Puyo Puyo Sun so well that now you just don't like the entire franchise.
I think it's more I don't like you. But
oh, wow.
Wow.
There is no need for that.
Wow.
Hottest takes of the year. Danny's in there 3 times already.
Boy.
You know what Puyo Puyo Sun does that you don't appreciate is when the match ends, it goes to an AIDS awareness screen every single time.
Wait, what?
Yeah, so when you finish a match in Puyo Puyo Sun, it goes to like this old screen that was just like, fight AIDS! And it's just giving you information about how to fight the AIDS epidemic.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
What great awareness for its players who has AIDS.
I got AIDS from playing Puyo Pop. I'm a little too friendly with the Puyos. Oh, anyway.
Go get tested.
But no, I needed to understand because you have been fighting very hard for Nier, and if you beat
It's
the
because
game,
it's a great game.
No, I
really
understand.
like it.
I understand. I just wanted to make sure you weren't fighting very hard for a game that you only had played so much of. Basically.
Like, here's the thing. No, look, I have good taste in video games.
Yeah. Well,
Both
I don't
Nier
know.
games
You've been
are
playing
probably,
Slime Rancher.
both Nier games are probably in my top 5 of all time.
I'm not saying that
Listen,
Nier is a bad game. I was just.
I like Slime Rancher.
Sure.
Would not be in probably top 50.
I am not saying that Nier is a bad game. I just wanted to have Danny back up how fervently he's been fighting for it by just at least saying that he's. That's all.
You don't trust me. That's what it is.
I don't.
Huh? Right,
well,
fine.
no. Again, you have led me to believe that you beat Sonic Mania for a while now.
I actually asked him off air if you had beaten it or what, and he was like, I don't know. So it's good to have confirmation.
Yeah, no, I don't feel it's unfair to confirm that. I've been upfront about the fact that I've not played much Hollow Knight or Thimbleweed. But the fact is that we all have experience with that and have all agreed on that one. So that's mostly why I just asked. Anyway, moving on. Most Moxie.
Yep, here it is. Only 3 nominees at the moment.
Quite an easy list.
What do you have?
No, post the list, because I'm not sure which one you're missing. I thought that we had talked about before.
I have
you did.
Gang Beasts, Nidhogg 2, Dogolrax.
Oh no, I guess you always had Nidhogg too. I don't know why I thought you had something else there. So most Moxie, explain that category so everyone understands.
Because you did not.
Is it pretty much the most original? From what I understand, it's
kind of.
It's the most original.
It's for stuff that is the weirdest. Yes, originality counts a lot. Something that you cannot believe actually came out. Just you know it when you see it.
So to be clear,
you look at the stuff on this list, you can tell they have Moxie.
Yeah. I think the best way that you described it to me is the most audacious. Because if it were just sort of like, you're surprised that this came out, boy, do I have a game for you that I am surprised came out in 2017, but I don't think it deserves to make that list because that's not what this list is actually about. And I just wanted to sort of clarify that, not for our benefit necessarily, but for anybody watching this and wondering what most Moxie is.
Yeah. Well, like, previous year winners included, like, D4, Dark Dreams Don't Die.
And definitely has Moxie.
Contradiction, Spot the Liar. An FMV game, which is really weird.
And yet so, now there have been so many more FMV games that have come out, which is even more strange.
Yeah.
I don't even necessarily think it's to capitalize on like the reaction people had to Contradiction so much as it was just that weirdly everything sort of coalesced there and people were doing those again.
Yeah, most people don't know Contradiction exists.
Yeah.
Of course it wasn't in reaction to that.
Yeah.
Like Tex Murphy,
still great though. That's all
the Tesla Effect came out before Contradiction, but that was from a franchise that had a Kickstarter, but then Contradiction kind of just came out of nowhere. I think that also counts for a lot.
Is hopefully getting another part to it because that thing certainly ended.
I hope so. There's the main character of Contradiction pictured. Inspector Jenks.
Flipping devil horns to people and asking if it means anything to them.
Yep.
Anyway, so Gang Beasts, you and I are very familiar with, Danny. We have both played that game. Some would say it's the best multiplayer game of 2017.
Some would say that.
Nidhogg 2 I have not played, but I'm familiar enough with it, and I have played Nidhogg 1, and my understanding is, like, fundamentally it doesn't change that much of that game. I understand that there are differences in it. There are different things that you can do, but, like, it's still pick up different weapons.
Several weapons.
Yeah, that's, like, the main thing is you have, like, a bow and arrow now that you can use, or an axe, or a dagger, whereas before it was just the rapier.
Yep.
But like, I feel like if you have played the first Nidhogg, you have a decent idea of what to expect out of Nidhogg 2. I don't think that game changed that much about it that it would suddenly become a much more alien experience.
Well, no, here's the reason this comes in is because you look at that first game and it has that Atari style to it where everything's just flat colors, the characters extremely low res.
To be clear, I'm not saying this to like disqualify from the running. I'm just explaining that like I've not played this game, but here is why I feel I know enough about it.
That's okay. But the craziness is that they took such a minimalist game and then turned it into this grotesque show of just disgusting characters that look like somebody tried to make a Muppet out of a Simpsons character and just like something went horribly wrong
slathered
along
it with, like,
the way.
A bunch of clay that's like
you should look at the page. It's very good.
Please post a picture here for everybody's benefit. It is a gross looking video game.
Like, the characters in Nidhogg 2 look like characters from like Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared during like the end of one of the videos or something.
Where they're aging rapidly and their skin is melting off.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
And like even the backgrounds are kind of, they go along with that.
Jesus.
These characters actually don't look as gross as some of them, but the background.
Nidhogg is actually maybe to a point where there are times where I don't like its art style because it is really gross and kind of off-putting to me in a little way. But
yeah,
I really appreciate what it's going for. And like it's not so much that it would ever put me off of playing that game. Like, I actually am a little bit ashamed that I have not played it yet this year because it is something that definitely was on my radar and I just never got around to it.
Yeah.
Let me talk to you about Dogglerax.
Also, here's a GIF showcasing the character customization in Nidhogg 2.
It's going to take a minute for this to load for me.
That you can create several types of weird-looking people.
Oh boy. None of these people should exist.
No, absolutely not. And that you have this stuff mixed with the low-res... Ugh, man.
Yeah, it's a hideous game.
It's great. It's great. I love it.
So I mentioned clay. There is this weird sort of almost clay fighter-esque thing to it for me.
Yeah.
With this sort of squishy, bouncy way that everything moves and, you know. Let me talk to you about Dogglerax. I'm going to need you to pull up some images of it. Okay. It's basically like the foundation of it is out of this world. One of those really old, very, very, very cinematic games from back in the day. But it gets weird from there. Like, it could have just been a straight up, like, we're just doing this kind of a game. Yeah, there's anime girls in it.
Okay.
For some reason. Because, like, you would think, just based on that image, like, here's a really weird game for perverts, but, like, the first time you come across an anime girl, she got blown out of her mech, she's bent over, her cleavage is pouring out, she's like, my mech's gonna blow up, you need to get away from there. And then it blows up, it singes her clothes off, and you think that, okay, this is what this game is going to be. And then it pans back out, and instead it just blows all her flesh off too, so she's just a skeleton.
Oh, now I see why you wanted this on the list.
You did a crime with best character. I legitimately forgot that I was going to nominate her in it because she does become a skeleton in that game. Oops.
Whoopsie doodle.
Now we have to have the whole conversation again.
Okay, well, alright.
There's shoot 'em up mini games.
Just a second.
Yeah.
This image right here. This I just posted. In this pile, there's clearly a predator mask.
There are xenomorphs in this game. There's one in this picture. Sometimes the xenomorphs are underground and they spit up acid, and so you have to time your jumps just right so you don't get hit by the acid. There are shoot 'em up mini games in this that when you beat the shoot 'em up, it will give you a bestiary page to tell you about one of the weird creatures in this game. And like that's one of the few times where it mostly takes itself seriously, is these write-ups on the creatures actually seem mostly humorless. But like the rest of the game is just about being subversive in really weird ways. Like it looks like out of this world, it plays like out of this world, but there's fucking anime girls in it. But like the anime girls aren't there just to be lewd, they're there as like a goof of like this is really discordant with the rest of the style in the game, which itself is, I mean, look at that guy munching on that worm. Like it looks like somebody took a bunch of assets and like slapped them all together and just made something that looks completely bizarre.
Okay, I found a GIF here. Yeah, this looks... Yeah. I can understand if you want this to win.
Again, it's going to take a minute for that to load to me. I don't know what it is about Discord that takes GIFs a while. Yeah, I remember that you crawl up the throat of that thing and pop out and there's a monster eating it. And yeah, the anime girl part is in this GIF too. Yeah. It unfortunately cuts out, but it does just pop back to the normal view of her becoming a skeleton and like crumbling. There's a bit right after that you fall down a pit, and if you don't react in time to this like pterodactyl that's flying through this tunnel, it picks you up. You make the weirdest screaming sound. It's like, whoa! And then it drops you, and you're like split in half, and like half your body's just laying there looking around, and you just say like, did I miss something? And then this dude just comes in from the right side of the screen with this dumb look on his face, and then a foot that does not seem at all attached to this man squashes your head, and that's your game over screen.
It's Monty Python style?
Yes, like actually it just sort of comes down like the Monty Python foot. I had a video uploaded of that game at one point that actually showed that whole sequence as just like this slice of, yo, this game is really, really weird.
Okay, then here's the question. Do you think Gang Beasts has as much moxie as these other two?
I do not.
Huh.
I think Gang Beasts, it's remarkable that... So, I guess this is the way I break it down. In terms of visual style and flair, Nidhogg and Dulgarax are more interesting to me than Gang Beasts. In terms of actual gameplay, I think Nidhogg mostly is following up a game that already established what Nidhogg is. Dulgarax to a degree with the whole out of this world thing, although it's been so long since someone tried to do that, but it definitely goes in these very bizarre directions. I'm genuinely surprised something like Dulgarax exists, and I think the only reason it does is because we have a fucking mess on our hands with Steam.
Earlier you had described it to me as out of this world, but with frog fractions.
That's somewhat accurate, yeah. Like, the gameplay changes up in some interesting ways. It mostly sticks to the out-of-this-world style of gameplay, but in terms of the humor and the weird things it does to sort of subvert what that game would be at a glance, it's absolutely like Frog Fraction.
Okay.
Like, Frog Fraction's whole design thing was like, we want to keep you constantly surprised. And I think that's applicable to Dulgarax.
Okay. So this will just be a top 3. Who do you think wins?
I think Dulgarax is maybe one of the... I think probably Dulgarax. It's the craziest damn game I've played all year. I'm genuinely surprised it exists. I'm more surprised that it's actually good.
Do you have any input, Danny?
I have not played those two games.
But from what you have seen,
you must have
some opinion.
It is fucking bonkers. And I'd say if you're gonna go fucking to 11 with craziness, I think it has the most moxie.
I think in terms of what this category is about, of just being the most audacious, Dulgarax absolutely takes it. I think the one that's the most fun to play is Gang Beasts.
Okay.
I would maybe say Gang Beasts is number 2 because Nidhogg, again, like I still really like what it's going for, but I think at least the mechanical section of that game is something that I've already kind of been acclimated to.
Yeah, I understand. Okay, so... Okay.
Dulgarax is $1 on Steam. You can play it from my library if you want to, but
Nah, I'm okay.
okay. It's also only like about an hour long. It's not that long of a game.
Yeah, I probably will play it.
Can I
now
mention
that my bandwidth has reset? Thanks, Ajit Pie.
net neutrality?
Reese's cup mug.
I hope that guy falls down a flight of stairs and lands on his teeth every step of the way.
Oh, me.
I hope he gets caught while walking into an elevator and it starts going up and then splits him in half.
And then half his body falls down and he goes, "Did I miss something?" And then this guy,
That's
he pops
right.
in from the... there's two games that I kind of wanted to mention for this. Could you do me a favor and look up when Kyo's Adventure came out?
Okay.
But the other one I wanted to mention is Doki Doki Literature Club, and the reason that it is not on this list,
Right.
even though I think it probably deserves to be, is that none of us here have played it. I understand very little about it.
Hold on.
Uh-huh.
For one thing, Kyo's Adventure came out April 7th. This informs me that one friend recommends against this game, and it has a big red X.
Uh-huh.
On the store page, it mentions bug fix. Currently, we fix a bug while Kyo is killed by laser during Fight the Final Boss.
Yeah, well, I don't recommend that game.
Okay.
Real quick, though, about Doki Doki. Danny, how familiar are you with that game?
I've seen it. I've never played it, so I'm very familiar.
Do you know about, like, sort of what direction it goes in? Because we were kind of debating about whether we maybe wanted to play that on a video.
I know that it's like it starts out like a dating sim, but then it just goes into weird territory shit after that.
But that's about all you know.
That's about all I really know.
So I could have played.
Play it.
I could have played that in anticipation for this list, but it's actually something. It's something that I kind of want to enjoy together with you, Danny, and just sort of like witnessing where that goes with somebody else.
That's so nice.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So I'm sorry, Doki Doki Literature Club, you don't make our list because I want to play you with my buddy. Kyo's Adventure, though, came out in April and is a fucking travesty, and I'm surprised it is allowed on Steam because holy shit. Okay, there's this thing called Guro, right? It is where people get sexual gratification from watching women, like, dismembered. That game is maybe a Guro fetishist wet dream. Like, at first it just starts out as, like, this very poorly translated, weird kind of Earthbound-esque horror thing. And then, like, every death screen is just like a spike is getting shot up this girl's vagina or something like that. And it just has this air of, like, this isn't sexual horror for the horror element. It is for the gratification element and what the audience would get out of that. And sure enough, if you go to its, like, forum, there's a lot of people going, like, can I get an uncensored patch for this game? Which, no, I hope you cannot.
But isn't this, like, meant to be a parody of, like, Corpse Party and stuff like that?
I'm not sure. Because to a certain point, I thought that that was the case, where this thing was mostly satirizing those kind of games, and then certain death screens... Satirizing.
Okay.
Satirizing? Satiricalization.
Is satirizing? It's where you turn them into a satyr?
Near Automata.
Okay, there you go.
Okay.
You did it.
Hey! There is I think I played a few hours into that thing and I kind of felt like, yeah, it was supposed to be a parody of that. And then I started hitting all those death screens and it started to seem a little bit too real.
I think they put that in there just for daddy.
That game is most certainly just for daddy, and it is not a dad I ever want to meet. I genuinely do not want to be around somebody who likes Kyo's Adventure, because I think that person is a fucking freak. Like, that game is really messed up. But again, most Moxie, that thing is also insanely audacious, and I'm genuinely surprised that it exists on Steam. This is something that, like, you would find this on, like, someone on a forum would be like, yo, I got a mega upload link for you.
Yo, check this shit
out. Like it would be on the level of, like, Phoenix Drive. Do you remember that?
No, I don't, but...
It was a Phoenix Wright, like, Dojin game
Okay, then yeah. Like, it would definitely be some sort of, here's a game maker forum for perverts. You can't find any of our games on, like, legitimate platforms. And I have no idea how this is on Steam. That spike very clearly goes up that girl's vagina.
I mean, I don't know. House parties on Steam.
There's some weird stuff that's, like, okay on Steam, and then there's this bizarre line of, like, okay, we'll put Honey Pop up here, but you can't see any nipples. Like, okay?
I mean, it's more than that.
Anyway.
It's more than that.
Kyo's Adventure doesn't get to make the list, because in terms of most audacious, it's only audacious in the fact that it's on Steam. I'm not surprised, unfortunately, that somebody would make that game in 2017. I'm just surprised by the platform it's on.
Okay.
I wanted to just bring it up. That game was an experience that I had this year, and I'm a worse person for it.
Okay.
Next
Final category. This is the last one. Here it is. Best Rutger Hauer.
Oh, well.
The nominees are Observer. Now, what do you think should be on the list for sure?
Well, I think we can take Observer off the list.
No!
I don't know who that is.
Wait, what?
It's the most perfect response.
I think he's coming over to my house right now.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm back. I just had to go walk a lap around my apartment. I understand not knowing what Observer is. That's surprising that you don't know who Rutger Hauer is.
No, I don't know who Rutger Hauer is.
Wow. He was the Tears in the Rain guy from Blade Runner.
Roy Batty.
He was the hobo with the shotgun in Hobo with a Shotgun.
Yeah.
That's also another thing. I've never watched Blade Runner.
Well.
Come on.
I
You would
have a Blade
recognize
Runner
Rutger
story.
Hauer if you saw him.
Yeah.
Probably.
Just post a picture of Rutger Hauer.
Okay, I'm gonna go get it.
Oh, yeah, this is the start of a new text channel. Just hashtag Rutger.
There we go. That's Rutger Hauer.
Okay.
He's in a bunch of movies.
You still don't know who that is, do you?
Nope. But I'll just take a for it.
So, a little backstory, this does replace our best Troy Baker category because there was a shocking lack of Baker this year.
At least a memorable Bakers, yeah. And look, Rutger Hauer finally did a voice in a video game. He actually might have before this that I don't know about, but come on, it's Rutger Hauer. Like, the character in the game is also modeled after him.
Well, I mean, that does make it the best Rutger Hauer.
Exactly.
This is such a subversive year because we don't have a skeleton as our best character and we don't have a best Troy Baker. But we do have a best Rutger Hauer, so I guess it was a pretty alright year.
Well, here's the thing, though. We would have had best Troy Baker, but the winner would have been him as Sam Drake again, because spoilers, he shows up in Uncharted Lost Legacy.
Well, shit.
And so we couldn't just have best Troy Baker be Sam Drake again.
Well, there was also, like, another episode, or another season, rather, of Batman that came out this year, which, again, like, he made that list with Batman last year, and he would have made it again this year.
Yeah.
Surprising lack of work from Troy Baker, who normally gets around.
Yeah. I wonder if he's trying to take a break.
I almost suggested making this the best Matt Mercer, because I think he does a very good poor man's Troy Baker.
Yeah. I guess so.
He's off doing Critical Role and whatever shit.
I kind of regret not suggesting him. Sorry, go ahead, Danny.
No, it's like he's off doing like Critical Role or whatever. He also played McCree. That was like last year.
Critical Role is like a D&D podcast.
It is a D&D podcast, and he's mostly just been doing that.
He's been in some stuff. Matt Mercer, actually, fun fact, was bad Luke Skywalker in Battlefront 2.
He was. He indeed is.
Boy.
As I wanted to include him on that list, it was just going to be Matt Mercer's basic speaking voice as Luke Skywalker.
Matt Mercer's no Troy Baker.
No, he is not.
But Troy Baker is no Rutger Hauer.
That is true. This follows.
Rutger Hauer is a real actor.
Yeah.
That's undeniable. He has been in actual movies.
His middle name is actually Actor. It's Rutger Actor Hauer.
Rutger?
Rutger.
Hua?
Dear Automata. It's a satirization of...
Satirization.
Hi, I'm Rich
But
Evans.
okay.
Let me tell you about the AIDS epidemic.
Anyway, our winner for Best Rutger Hauer is Observer.
I think you're insane. It's Persona 5.
Who was he in Persona 5?
All.
All?
It was everybody. It was Morgana, mostly.
Oh. That explains a lot.
Rutger
Wow,
Hauer...
he has a good voice range.
If he told me to go the fuck to sleep, I would, because I would be afraid what would happen to me if I stayed awake a second longer.
Danny, have you ever seen the movie? I don't know why I'm bothering to ask this. Have you seen the movie Blind Fury?
I don't know what that is.
It stars Rutger Hauer, where he is a blind swordsman.
More or less based off of Zatoichi, which is a series I know you were intimately familiar with.
Kind of.
I don't know that either.
Well...
Okay, I forgot how great the poster for this is.
Oh, it's... yeah.
This movie you should watch as soon as possible.
So, again, I have brought him up a few times. The person who trained me in special effects worked on the Mario Brothers movie and Popeye. He also worked on Blind Fury.
Really?
Yes.
You never mentioned that. You just mentioned Mario and Popeye.
Oh, well, I thought I did. But yeah, he worked on Blind Fury as well.
That's great.
That dude got around.
I mean, look at that. You can't hate that movie.
I will tell you for a fact that there was a moment in class where Blind Fury was used as a teaching aid.
Great.
Yeah. Okay, well, Best Rutger Hauer, number one.
He was also in Wanted, Dead or Alive, where the bad guy was Gene Simmons.
Oh boy.
That's a good one too.
Anyway, Best Rutger Hauer, number one.
Blind Fury.
That's the list.
Okay, yes.
All right,
number one, Observer.
Uh-huh.
The end.
Yep. Okay, well, we will be back next time. I think Best soundtrack, most Moxie, Best Rutger Hauer.
This is it.
Yeah, this list went by so much more smoothly.
I'd like a smoothie.
Ooh, smoothie. You're inviting George with your copious amounts of money?
Nope. I already bought you a video game last night.
He also pre-ordered the Deep Striker.
Yeah. Yeah, I did that. I'm a dirty boy.
It's really gross.
Alright, well, speaking of gross things, the Golden Grimmies are next. Now it's George's time to shine, because I'm the only one who follows that beat of terrible things that happen throughout the year, so join me when I host about an hour of unbridled pessimism next time. Bye-bye.